The Darth Retro Podcast is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on intelligent subjects, but mostly just sports, music, and life. And now, here is your adorable host, Tom Wagner. And welcome to the Darth Retro Podcast here on this kind of cloudy Saturday afternoon in August. Temperature's not too bad out here in the old Fargo, North Dakota. Well, this is going to be the first part of two for this third episode already. It's already so surprising that this is already the third episode, and I've started doing this for just about 10 days already, so. The first part, I'm going to be doing topics of the Penn State Scandal, talking a little bit about that little issue, some middle school, high school, and college rivalries that kind of stood the test of time so far, at least for most of my life, of course. But anyway, just gonna talk a little bit about that, some stuff from the last new episode of Storage Wars. So. And perhaps maybe a little bit some music if I have time to do this. So let's get started. Well, I'm sure most of you have pretty much heard about what has been going on in Penn State and the fallout from the whole scandal of Jerry Sandusky abusing little boys in the shower, but I decided to actually talk about this a little bit about a couple weeks after the NCAA's pretty much handing down the sanctions and the semi-death penalty to the Penn State football program. But my take is basically that Jerry Sandusky definitely deserved every inch of the law on his ass. I mean, he deserved to go to jail and to basically rot there for pretty much the rest of eternity. To be honest with you, it's not really an issue about, it's not like a recruiting violation. It's so much more than that. It's about kids, it's kids' welfare and basically the breakdown of pretty much management from a coach who basically had too much power in Joe Paterno, and basically no one doing anything about it. And basically the coaches, the interns, or even the players themselves didn't do anything about it. So, well, I guess I can't really say that the players are at fault, but they're the real victims in this whole entire issue is the rape victims, and probably a distant second is the Penn State players that basically did everything right and basically still get handed the screw over. So I guess I could probably talk a little about how I felt during the first few weeks of the scandal. It's basically the whole entire timing of it just seemed so odd. It's because I remember it was in November of last year, and basically Joe Paterno celebrates his 409th win as a coach who has been there since 1966, and then basically the I think it was like the Monday or Tuesday after that for our ninth win from that Saturday. It's the timing of it was so odd. It was either odd or just absolutely right for basically the whole story to break out. It just came out of nowhere. It's when I first flipped on the TV to Sports Center and basically showed this all over the screen that Jerry Sandusky has been arrested for multiple counts of sexual assault on little boys, and basically the whole University of Penn State was basically put under the radar, and for at least over a month there was at least some sort of update to the whole scandal. But I was very shocked about it. To me, I thought it was more of an issue of how a coach like Jerry Sandusky would basically have this so much power to just do whatever the hell he wants and get away with it. And basically no one did anything about it. Well, I think one of the coaches or then interns of the program basically did tell someone about it, and of course, Joe Paterno didn't really do anything. So at first I thought basically how could Joe Paterno do anything about it, since it wasn't Joe Paterno that abused those boys in the shower. To me, I was basically like one of those, basically the Penn State people. I was pretty much in denial about it. I thought, God, Joe Paterno would never have done that, to cover up something like that. But towards later on in the investigation, I just couldn't take the denial. I had to realize that he was at fault, as well as everyone else that was involved with that program, the football program. But and basically people just have never really forgotten about it. I'm basically a huge college football fan, and basically Joe Paterno is basically like one of the best representatives or ambassadors to the game of college football, because he's been basically through it all. He was a head coach he became a head coach when the Vietnam War was going on. He became a head coach when when flower power was just about to blossom in San Francisco in 1966 and 67. He basically lived through it all. And I thought Joe Paterno was probably one of the best role models for my generation, and probably the generations before us. And he brought so much good to the University of Penn State. He built libraries to encourage learning, and he helped out his athletes as much as anyone could. And unfortunately, he just made one mistake, which was unfortunately a very big mistake. You can't cover up something like that and get away with it. It's just not possible. So, and then about a good few months after the scandal breaks out, he dies, and basically the whole family has. To be honest with you, I don't think the family has been really that. Hasn't really been that good to keep up with his legacy. You know, it's like they always keep on saying something about the free report, or they always have like written statements about what's going on over there. It's just blasphemy. Just move on. Just move on, people. Especially the Penn State fans. Especially the Penn State fans, who can't seem to get over the fact that their once great hero, Joe Paterno, basically covered up one of the biggest scandals in the sports history. And I'm pretty sure it's the biggest scandal in sports history. Like, standing alone, that's pretty much the biggest scandal in sports history. In the United States, of course, but I'm sure some of you have probably seen the picture, but they have like this like T-shirt of NCAA, but instead of the C has like the hammer and sickle, like the old Soviet Union flag, with the hammer and sickle on it. So essentially, that the makers of that T-shirt are basically saying the NCAA is basically run by communists, which is totally not the case. It's totally not the case. But do I think Penn State will recover from the sanctions by the NCAA? Yeah, sure. I think just about anyone is able to recover from that. There's only been a couple of cases of the death penalty in college football history. There was the SMU death penalty case in the 1980s, which basically put that program in a standstill and I think they pretty much recovered from the scandal, but I think basically their example has been a proof of examples for basically any program. And then the other case is this, which is the sanctions of this scandal is basically it's not even close to what SMU got back in the 80s, but it's I think it's more of a mini death penalty, which I think at least Penn State's going to be competing, but not for at least a good 10 years at least. 10, 15 years at least. I think Bill O'Brien's pretty much the most bravest man in America to basically take over the reins of a program that is basically gonna be in a standstill for the next decade. And I feel he's going to have a tough task being in charge of that program. And if I remember right, they were basically not going to have no postseason play for for a good number of years. No bowl games for any stretch of the imagination, and then there's going to be a reduction of scholarships, which is definitely a huge dagger in the heart for basically any college program, including Penn State. But I think one good thing that can come out of this is for the players that they can basically transfer to any program that they want, and as long as they're eligible to play, I think that's pretty much a-okay. And basically $60 million, which is like, I was listening to the Dan Patrick show. It's like their annual income is like $60 million, and basically all that money is going to go to child abuse organizations. And I don't know. I think the money could have really been spent to the victims, since the victims and their families were the biggest reason why the scandal even happened. And I don't know. I just think that the money could have been really much spent. Could have been spent on the victims and their families. But I think the sanctions are good. Normally, I don't usually say that much about the NCAA sanctions of on programs like USC or Ohio State or any other program like that. But I was planning on thinking that they were going to get the death penalty, at least the death penalty. But I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with sanctions. Of course, what would happen if Joe Paterno was around when the sanctions happened? I think that's pretty much up for discussion. But you'll never know. We'll never truly know what Joe Paterno would think. So yeah, Jerry Sandusky, rotten hell. And we'll see you probably in about 10 years, Penn State, in like a bowl game or something like that for national championship, perhaps. Okay, next topic. Okay, well, on to a little bit more of a lighter subject. Let's see. Well, there's going to be school coming up, so I figured might as well to talk a little bit about some local school rivalries that have stayed in my mind for over 10 years. And basically, middle school, there wasn't that much of a rivalry. I mean mostly kids from like a different elementary school basically lived in their own little world, and basically me and my other colleagues basically lived in their own little world, and elementary school was kind of more of learning the basics of stuff, and once middle school came, even though the middle school I was in was junior high, excuse me, it was a junior high at the time, and basically all the kids from the north side of Fargo basically went to the school called Ben Franklin, and basically kind of slowly kind of had a little rivalry with Agassiz Middle School. I think you know, other than like kind of like sports, like because there was like a local basketball team for Ben Franklin. Unfortunately, I wasn't in it, but there was kind of like a little football team for us, and then I think there was a soccer team too. But yeah, but our rivals were definitely Agassiz Middle School and Discovery Middle School. And then once high school happened, basically the whole competition basically got a lot more bigger. And I went to Fargo North, which was kind of pretty much like the older brother to basically the other local area high schools. Basically, Fargo North basically was built in 1965 after Fargo Central burned down and sometime around that time. And basically after that, Fargo Shanley, I actually think Fargo Shanley was around before that time. And let's see, then you had West Fargo, and pretty much after once I left high school, they basically built another high school called Fargo Davies, named after Judge Davies, who basically was a big proponent for civil rights in the 1960s. So, basically our biggest rivals was Fargo South, basically because it was kind of like, how in baseball, you have the Chicago Cubs from the north side of Chicago, and then you have the Southsiders, the White Sox. So I'm not trying to make comparisons to that, but, it's basically North and South. Basically, North versus South. We thought we were better than South, and then South thought they were better than us. And basically, South Fargo is more. You have a lot more kind of the more richer kids going to Fargo South, and basically more of the diverse group of people going to North. And I'm not saying that all the rich kids went to Fargo South, of course, but I think there are more richer houses down South Fargo, but that's just me. Of course, we had our share of rich kids that went to North, and they were actually pretty nice. And I'm not saying that South is like South students are basically like bad guys or anything, but it was just for the sake of rivalry, And basically our closest next rival was probably West Fargo Packers, but it's I didn't mind West Fargo as much as Fargo South, which was the Bruins, and Fargo North was the Spartans. And then Fargo Shanley, which the original school was actually built just a block or a couple blocks east of where I used to live in North Fargo. And actually a little fun fact for you is um, Roger Maris actually went to Fargo Shanley. So a little fun fact for you that Roger Maris went to Fargo Shanley. And also for Philadelphia Phillies fans, Chris Coast, who was part of your 2008 World Series championship team, he went to Fargo South. So we definitely have quite a bit of a little bit of heroes here in Fargo. And then you have Roger Maris, who hit 61 home runs in the 1961 season for the Yankees. If there was probably one of the favorite Yankee teams in which I really cringe the thought of having a favorite Yankees team, is that 1961 Yankees team with you have Mantle and Maris duking it out for Babe Ruth's home run crown, and basically everyone was cheering for Mickey Mantle to break it. And you also have this newcomer with Roger Maris, who basically joined the team in 1960, I think it was. But let's see, what else do we have here? Back to subject. Probably our biggest rival was Moorhead High, which was the high school that my father went to. And actually, I think it's somewhere around in my house, my old house, but he had a pin button saying beat the Spartans. It was like somewhere in like the early 70s when my father was attending there. So yeah, I can't say too much about Moorhead High, because well, you catch my drift. So anyway, and basically once I went to college, basically our biggest rival was Concordia College, and I went to MSUM, as you pretty much already know. But unfortunately, this rivalry the biggest sport in the rivalry is the football, which we used to have an annual rivalry game, like the Civil War with Oregon State, or the big game with Michigan and Ohio State. Basically, our biggest rivalry game was the Power Bowl, which unfortunately for me, I was actually there for the last Power Bowl game, which unfortunately Concordia College lost, or actually MSUM lost, pardon me. Yeah, it was actually a close game right up to the end. And yeah, I'm still waiting. Concordia College fans. I'm waiting for the next Power Bowl game, so that we can beat you again and again. Of course, MSUM's the Dragons, and Concordia College is the Cobbers. I like to call them corn people. Corn people. Hey, we're gonna beat those corn people today. But anyway, I think that's pretty much it for this topic. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with local school rivalries, and just wanted to share you a little bit of some of that story. So, next topic. Well, if you if you do notice, I do like to watch the TV show Storage Wars on A&E, and it's actually a really good show. It's pretty popular in my demographic, and probably a little bit more older people watch it too. But it's I don't usually watch TV shows all that much, but it's definitely one of my favorite TV shows. And basically, this past week's episode, which was definitely quite a highlight in my book, um, it's for those who do not know much about the show. It's basically about these people that go to these storage auctions, and they basically bid on these units, which they're not allowed to go in and take a look until they basically own the unit. And there's about basically a small chance that they can actually hit pay dirt, like a huge treasure chest of like antiques and such. But you know, the risk is definitely there, but the reward is also quite numerous as well. Anyway, this past episode was it was actually quite funny. The one of the well, basically the auctioneers are basically a husband and wife team, and basically the husband was commenting on the fact that his wife's shoes were melting in the hot sun, and basically and I'm pretty much paraphrasing this, but he says, well, there's about 590 or 499 pairs to go, and one pretty much in the books. And actually, I think was one down, 499 pairs left to go. But it was actually one of the biggest moments of the show, I think. My Twitter feed, my Twitter feed pretty much lit up after seeing that, and basically it was probably one of the best moments of that show. Pretty much got me thinking, why would someone need 499 pairs of shoes? I mean, I'm single, but I'm pretty sure I'm gonna probably deal with the fact that my future wife would have like about 1,000 pairs of shoes, and then I'm like, you can't have that much. And then she'll be like, oh no, Tom, you can never have that much. No. And I'm pretty sure us guys will never figure out why women love shoes so much. It's one of the biggest mysteries of life, I fear. So, if you want to watch the show, it's I think there's a new episode this upcoming Tuesday, the 14th and of August, and basically there's like another show kind of like that called Storage Wars Texas, and I think that season premieres also on that day as well. So I definitely recommend watching at least an episode of Storage Wars, at least an episode. My favorite auctioneer is Barry. I mean, Barry is just one of the most funniest characters on that show. He's such an oddball, you know. But he's such a funny oddball that that you just have to love. Probably my second favorite is probably Jared and Brandy Basante, and yeah, I think without them, that show would be a little bit less boring. Um, Probably my least favorite auctioneer is probably Nabila Hannes, but I don't know. I just don't like her. It's just so. She's like a female version of Dave, like cocky, snotty. But uh, I just don't like Nabila all that much. I don't like Dave Hester all that much either, but Dave's okay in my book, but anyway. Well, I don't think I'm going to be talking about music, at least for this part of the podcast, but perhaps maybe if I have time for part two, which will be taped tomorrow, August 12th. Perhaps if I'll do some music, talk about some music. Okay, this is the part 1 of episode 3 for the Darth Retro podcast. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, definitely feel free to shoot me an email at tommusicfan19@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Darth dash or I don't know what that one's called, but search for Darth Tom, and I'm pretty sure you'll find me on there. I'm basically my display picture is basically a red dragon. That just look for a red dragon, basically a stuffed dragon, and that basically says MSU Moorhead, and that should be me. If it says Tom Wagner on it, then you pretty much hit the gold. So, alright, so part 2 is going to be taped tomorrow. So, adios, amigos, au revoir, peace.